Hello children, welcome to today's literature class. Here we begin with Unit 1 of your Gulmohar text, The Boy Who Broke the Bank by Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond, you know, is a famous writer, one of the favorite Indian writers. He had started writing when he was only 17 years old, and since then he has not stopped. He was born in the year 1934 in Kasoli, which is in Himachal Pradesh. He was brought up in Dehradun, and most of his stories, you find out, revolves around the foothills of Himalayas. Okay. Last year probably you had also read one story by Ruskin Bond, The Rusty's Pool. Okay, Rusty's Pool. Anyway, so this is a wonderful story by Ruskin Bond, The Boy Who Broke the Bank. Suppose we start with the story. First, the characters, let us go on writing. First character is the boy who broke the bank, is Nathu. Nathu is the boy, sweeper boy. He is the sweeper boy who used to sweep the floors of the bank owned by Seth Govindram. Seth Govindram. He is the owner of a bank, owner of a local bank. But his business was little bit unorganized. He was known for his unorganized business. He was the owner of a local bank. Then comes Sitaram. Sitaram was a friend of Nathu, and he was the washerman's boy. Washerman's son. He used to deliver clothes to different houses, washed and pressed clothes to different houses of that town. Okay. Then come some more characters like Mrs. Prakash, Mrs. Bhushan, Mr. Bhushan, Mr. Jugal Kishore, local residents. Okay, Mrs. Prakash, Mrs. Bhushan, Mr. Bhushan, local residents. Mr. Jugal Kishore had an electric shop. Then comes Faiz Hussain. Faiz Hussain, who was the barber of that locality. Then some more characters like an elderly gentleman, other residents, the manager of the bank owned by Seth Govindram, the manager, the clerk, other residents already written, and some mischief makers. Okay. So the story begins in this way. Nathu the sweeper boy. This is the story. Let me first tell you. The story is about how rumor travels. Rumor is a great traveler. How the truth, when it travels from one person to another, gets exaggerated and it takes the form of a rumor. Okay. So Nathu the sweeper boy had not received his salary for about 2 months from Seth Govindram. Okay, he was working there in that bank. So as he had not received the salary for about 2 months, he was dusting the floor and grumbling to himself. He was sweeping the floor and grumbling to himself. Sitaram, his friend, the washerman's son, he was passing that time. So he asked Nathu that what is wrong with you? Do you want a 5 rupees increase in your salary? Are you angry because of that? Nathu immediately said that no, that is not the reason. He wanted his regular salary. He said it to Sitaram that he had not received his salary for the last 2 months, for about 2 months. Sitaram immediately assured Nathu that okay, if he would find any work for him, then he would inform him. Saying this, Sitaram goes away delivering the clothes to different houses. So, while he was delivering the clothes, he was about to reach the 4th house, which belonged to Mrs. Prakash. And he heard Mrs. Prakash saying to someone that she needed a sweeper boy for dusting the courtyard, for sweeping the courtyard. As Mrs. Prakash was saying this, Sitaram said Mrs. Prakash that he knew about Nathu, who had not received his salary for the last 2 months and is about to leave the bank. So, Nathu would work for Mrs. Prakash. Mrs. Prakash was happy about it. So, Mrs. Prakash had the habit of moving around the locality, that area, the clothes shops and all those things. So, Mrs. Prakash said Sitaram that okay, she would keep Nathu as her servant. Okay. Saying this, Mrs. Prakash goes and she finds Mrs. Bhushan, another resident of that locality, her friend. She was under a tamarind tree. Mrs. Prakash immediately says Mrs. Bhushan that do you know the bank is not paying its employees? Mrs. Bhushan exclaims immediately, oh, this is disgusting. That Seth Govindram isn't paying his employees. Okay. Mrs. Bhushan then goes in search of Mr. Bhushan, who was sitting in Mr. Jugal Kishore's electric shop. Mrs. Bhushan goes to that electric shop and says that, do you know about a news? The bank, Seth Govindram, is not paying, the bank is not paying its employees. Then they were also surprised and startled at the news. Mr. Jugal Kishore immediately goes to the barber shop, Faz Hussein's shop, and says that, do you know that Seth Govindram's bank has collapsed? So you just see the difference. Here Nathu said that he had not received his salary for the last 2 months. Then it got exaggerated in such a way that finally they concluded that the bank is about to collapse because it is not paying any of its employees. Faz Hussain and that elderly gentleman immediately goes to a general store and he calls Seth Govindram, okay, to ask about the bank and the salary, whether he was paying the salary to the employees or not. That elderly gentleman, when he calls Seth Govindram was unavailable because those days landline phones were used and Seth Govindram had gone to Kashmir for holidays. Okay. Then they finally concluded that the bank must have collapsed and Seth Govindram had fled because he is unable to pay his employees. The bank is about to collapse. This was the conclusion that the people drew because of this. Now let's see how this rumor travels throughout the town and how people are worried about it. So the news spread like forest fire. Everywhere, people standing in group were discussing about the same thing, that Seth Govindram's bank has collapsed and because they are running in losses, they cannot pay their employees. So people were really worried. Those who had not kept the money in the bank were happy and they were boasting of their far-sightedness that they had not kept the money in the bank. But people who had kept the money in the bank decided to go to the bank and charge the manager and the clerk and withdraw the money immediately. So people gathered, went to the bank, windows of the bank, and they started talking to the manager and the clerk about withdrawal of the money. And they even said that Govind Ram was unable to pay its employees. Govind Ram was unable to pay his employees, and the bank is running in losses and it is about to collapse. The manager and the clerk, they denied. They said that nothing of that sort had happened. The employees have been paid. Maybe the sweeper boy Nathu was, maybe he had not received the pay, but others have been paid. But the people did not listen to anything. They continuously charged the manager and the clerk. They started pelting stones, breaking the window, throwing sticks, pebbles, and so on. Along with them, you find some mischief makers were also there. Those who did not have even a single penny in the bank, but they were also there along with those people to create mischief, because they were having the fun there. Okay, so there was total chaos and confusion in the near the bank. So the manager and the clerk called the police. The police had to come and disperse the mob. So the people went away to their banks. So all these things happened, but Nathu was not knowing anything. Next morning, as usual, he came to sweep the floor, and he was surprised to see the steps, that there were stones, pebbles, sticks, broken glasses and all these things. He was wondering what might have happened. At that time, Sitaram, as usual, he was also passing. He talked to Nathu that you withdraw the money because the bank is about to collapse, because it is running in losses. And Sitaram even assured Nathu that he had found out a job at Mrs. Prakash's house. So Nathu should immediately leave the job after getting the payment. Nathu was sitting after sweeping the floor. He sat on the footsteps, that is on the staircase, and he was wondering what really happened. He did not know anything about it. He was really wondering whether the statement said by Sitaram was true or not. So here you find out that how truth gets distorted from Nathu to Sitaram, and then to Mrs. Prakash and Mrs. Bhushan, and then to all other residents of that town. So you find out that rumor is really a great traveler. So what we learn from this story is that we should not believe in others' words blindly. This is a lesson for you, that one should never believe in others' words blindly. We should verify, we should analyze, we should apply our common sense, and then only believe in others' words, because the consequence of rumor is very dangerous. You can find out Nathu, the boy who broke the bank, it was because he simply shared his feelings with Sitaram. He simply shared his feelings with Sitaram that he had not received the money for about last 2 months. But it was because of his words that it grew into a rumor. And finally, when the next day when he came, he found that his burden of work had increased, because the place was littered like anything, and he was really wondering what might have happened. Okay, so hope you understood the story. Let us now find out some of the words, difficult words used in this, some new words. Let's find out the word meanings. Already the meanings are given at the side, but still let us go on discussing, and then we shall again discuss about the title, justification, and the lesson that we learn, or the message behind the story. Now some difficult words. Okay, some of the difficult words are already given in your book. So let us just once again discuss. Okay. So many difficult words are there, like haphazard. Haphazard, what does it mean? Unorganized. Unorganized. Or careless. Unorganized or careless. Okay. The owner of the bank was unorganized and careless. Seth Govind Ram had a haphazard business. What does it mean? His bank was unorganized and his business dealings were careless. Okay. Next, bang. Who was banging the pan? Nathu. Nathu was banging. Banging means make loud noise. Make loud noise by hitting something. Loud noise by hitting something. He was banging the pan because he was grudging that he had not received his salary. Shrug. Putting the shoulders up as if very casually. Okay. Sitaram shrugged his shoulder when he was talking to Mrs. Prakash. Shrugging, raising the shoulders, raising the shoulders up very casually. Okay. Next, bankrupt, running in losses. Okay. Running in losses. The bank was supposed to be going bankrupt. That is, was going to collapse. Running in losses. Bank was going in bankrupt. That is, it was going to collapse. Nicked. Carelessly make a cut. Carelessly make a cut. When did this happen? While Faiz Hussain heard the news, he was cutting an elderly gentleman's hair and he nicked his right ear because he heard something very startling, something very shocking. So he nicked at the ears of that elderly gentleman whose hair he was cutting. Speculating. Making an estimation. Making an estimation. People were speculating that the bank might collapse because it is not paying its employees. So speculating means making an estimation. Most of the people were speculating. The people of that town were speculating about the future of the bank. Frenzy, excited and anxious. Excited and anxious. The people were in this state because they were worried, they were anxious and rather excited even because they had kept the money in the bank which had collapsed according to them. Actually, the bank had not collapsed. Farsightedness, wisdom. Wisdom. That is, when you predict about the future or when you can estimate about the future. It is a wisdom when you expect something to happen in future. You make an estimation. That is farsightedness. Okay. So, now many more words are there. Some expressions are there. Some phrases are there like ready money. Money which is available in cash. Okay. So, the bank was supposed to have ready money. Why? Because it had to pay its employees. Those who were, it was about to pay to those people who had come to ask for the money. Making a beeline, hurrying. People were making a beeline in order to get the money out of the bank. Those people who had an account in the bank were making a beeline because they wanted to hurry. They wanted to immediately go to the bank and withdraw the money. So they were hurrying, making a beeline. The bird has flown. What does it mean? This phrase means that escaped. It may mean escaped or fled. People thought that Seth Govindram had escaped. The bird has flown because he was running in losses and unable to pay money to its employees. So the bird has flown. That is, the owner has escaped. Other than that, you find many other difficult words here. Some expressions also, some more expressions you find. On the verge of ruin, that means almost losing something. On the verge of ruin, that is almost losing something. Okay. Then circulated, that means spreading of news. The news spread throughout the town or circulated throughout the town. Collapse, to fail and lose something. Disgraceful, that is something very bad which is not at all unacceptable. When Mrs. Bhushan heard about this shocking news, she immediately said, "Oh, it's disgraceful that the bank is not paying its employees." Seldom. Seldom means rarely, hardly, which rarely happens. Some more words you can find out, like harassed, that is, which means tired. Harassed is tired. Vaults. Vaults, you must have seen that. Chests. Vaults are also called chests. When you go to a bank, you find various chests, that is boxes where valuables or money is kept. Okay. So children, go through the chapter, find out the word meanings. Various meanings are given, and now we come towards the end of the chapter. We'll end it up by discussing the title, about the title, and also about what you learn from the story, how rumor is caused, and what are the consequences of rumor. What are the consequences of spreading rumor? Fake news. You might have heard of various fake news these days. So, how it harms the society. That is what you have learned from the story. The man, this boy who broke the bank. Title justification. The boy who broke the bank. Who do you think broke the bank? Nathu. What does it mean? How did he break the bank? Simply because he expressed his feelings. He said the truth to his friend, and that truth travelled in a distorted way to various people, various persons, and people thought that the bank had collapsed. That is, the bank broke. The bank broke. It means the bank has collapsed. So, Nathu's words that he had not received his salary for about 2 months. This broke the bank because people thought that the bank had collapsed. So, Nathu, you cannot tell him that he is responsible for breaking the bank just because he simply, in a casual way, he said that he had not received his salary, and that truth in a distorted form broke the bank. Alright, now, so Nathu was the boy who broke the bank. Nathu was responsible, though we cannot blame him that way, but anyway, he was the boy who broke the bank. Now, moral, what you learn from this story is that we should, earlier even I said you, that we should not falsely believe in others' words without justification, without analysis. Okay? Blind belief is totally wrong. we should analyze, we should think, we should logically think rather. We should logically think what could be truth, what could be falsehood. Okay. So, had Mrs. Prakash, Mrs. Bhushan, Faz and all the other residents thought logically, this would not have happened and Nathu's walk would not have increased in such a way. And that towards the end you find out how Nathu was very much distressed after seeing the letters. Okay, this is all about the story. Hope you understood.